Hi Solly, welcome to your video feedback. I keep getting interrupted, hopefully I won't. If I do, I might go a little bit quiet or have a conversation with someone. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just have a read of your piece and give you feedback whilst I'm reading, just that I can let you know areas for improvement or development. Okay, obviously we talked about this. Can you make sure that you can correct things? So when I suggest something that's wrong, go back into the text, correct it. Reason being that you're going to remember it that way. If I'm always telling you, and even if you're always repeating it back and knowing that you need to do it, without the process of correction, it's unlikely that you'll remember it next time you come to write something. So it's really important to do that for me. Okay. I really like that. You've got that it connects to the modern day, yet it's spoken with historical content. That's really nice. It talks. The poem doesn't talk itself. It's the voice of Kate Tempest, so you could talk about her voice coming through. So pick your verbs really carefully. That's a really important thing to do. Use the past, present, future. Okay, brilliant. I think that's a really good idea. Past, present, future tenses. I would have liked further explanation there. Okay, so really looking into where a past tense is used, where a present one is used, where a future one is used, to show the different impacts and how we move between the different stages. That would have been really interesting. Okay. Okay, what I'd suggest here is you've got the quote, but then you've reinterpreted it in your own words. What I would say is just insert and integrate the quote itself anyway. So, are too scared, find their great purpose burning inside them. Okay? And then you've got it integrated from that point, and it will make a lot more sense. Okay? So that's a good thing to think about. Okay, you're really engaging with the theme or message there. I'd suggest integrate your quotes and terminology. We need to look back at terminology and including that, and just make sure that each part is kind of really explored, so looking at your sentences before moving on. One thing that it's not really got is an introduction. It is important to have one, particularly in your coursework. So with your introduction, you might look at the overall theme or message that you think Tempest is getting at and why. So why has she written this poem? What message does she want to give society? So engaging with that first, and then exploring how she does that through obviously the different tense changes and other messages that come through. Repetition, you need to look at the spelling of this word. So it's an E rather than an I there. The rest of it's fine. That's a word you're going to probably use quite often. So make sure you know how to spell it. Okay, we've got antithesis here. It's got a capital letter. Also just check that you've spelled that right, because you've missed out the part of the word there. So don't rush your words too much. It's important if you are using terminology for it to be spelled correctly. Of God and demons show the... And so it's how we, I don't know, how we may end up, I think, maybe there, on the decision of how we use our power. That's a little bit confusing. That needs a bit more explanation to make sure that the examiner knows what you mean, because I'm not quite sure what you're getting at there. So it does need a little bit more explanation. So it is the antithesis. They're extreme consequences of how we may end up. So it's through the choices of how we choose to use our power. Okay, so I do get it. The sentence structure needs to change to make that more clear. That might be something I actually get you to rewrite now. Just so that you've rewritten it, just rewrite that underneath for me. Just rework so that it's clearer. Go into more explanation about how she achieves that as well, because you've got that contrast all the way through of how we might end up at the end, what our fate might be. So really engaging with that would be good. So good analysis is getting there. You need the different stages of it. I think look at the different structures in the classroom. We've got different ones now, so the speed is up there, but you've also got iced, Peter, petal. There are various other ways of doing it. So maybe check through those and decide on a structure that you're going to use for your paragraphs. I think you need to be a little bit more structured in the way you're writing, just to ensure that you're hitting all the checkpoints before you move on to the next piece of analysis. Yes, you need to stop using capitals. Not all the time, obviously, you need them in some places. And good terminology, you have got some terminology, you need more, but that's something we can work on. I would say review the terminology from the last unit, check that you know what it is before we add in the new stuff. Okay, so with your piece, introduction, okay, making sure that we've got a bit of fluency, that's something I hadn't really mentioned, but making sure that one paragraph flows on to the next. So here we're talking about how we can make a bigger impression on society. Then you've moved into religious imagery, so they're not really related. So you might talk about how society has lost religion, but that this poem includes a lot of religious imagery. So you're talking about society here, you bring it back around in the next paragraph. Fluency is really important, particularly with your coursework, but also in the exams. It's going to be important that your essay flows and has real structure. So have a look at ways of structuring your paragraphs, make sure you've got an introduction, and think about fluency. Overall, I really liked your piece. It was a really interesting response, and I enjoyed reading it. Okay, thanks very much, Solly. Well done.